Support for the local government news roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more. Coming up, a councillor's dramatic mid-meeting resignation goes viral. A monitor appointed after a troubling psychosocial investigation report. Bass Coast picks a new mayoral team. A funding feud erupts between a council and a local MP. Sydney considering a ban on short-stay rentals. Mudgee Stadium lands a naming rights deal. A mayor blasts water buyback profiteering. Inside Launceston's failed 4-day workweek plan. Plus a new CEO appointment and much more. Hello everyone, I'm Chris Eddy. This is the Local Government News Roundup, a selection of news from and about councils across Australia and beyond, brought to you with the support of our founding sponsor, the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government. From Symphony 3, simple connected customer experiences. And from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. It's so good to have you listening wherever you are around Australia or indeed across the world. It's Friday the 1st of May 2026 and now here are today's top 3 stories. A Victorian Councillor has sensationally resigned mid-meeting after a vote to adopt a budget with a rate increase. Mike Noske delivered a letter of resignation to CEO Helen Havercroft about an hour into this week's Glenelg Shire Council meeting, to a smattering of applause from the public gallery. The Warrnambool Standard, which has seen Councillor Noske's resignation letter, said he'd raised concerns about a 2022 decision about primary producer rate rebates. He's accused the council of putting short-term interests ahead of the wider community. Councillor Noske has been on the council for 7.5 years and previously served as mayor for 2 years. The council acknowledged the resignation on its Facebook feed late yesterday, thanking Mr Noske for his contribution. It said it was working with the VEC on next steps. You'll find a link to that council meeting and that viral moment on our website. In New South Wales, Tenterfield Shire Council is beginning a leadership transition following the resignation of General Manager Hein Basson. At a recent meeting, Mayor Bronwyn Petrie praised Mr Basson's 2-year tenure. To ensure stability, the Director of Infrastructure Services, Matthew Francisco, has been appointed Acting General Manager effective immediately. Mr Basson's official departure date is set for June 5, while the Council prepares to launch the recruitment process for a permanent replacement. And in WA, a local government monitor has been appointed to the Shire of Serpentine-Jarrahdale following the Council's request for external support. Local Government Inspector Tony Brown has appointed Dominique Mecoy OAM as monitor starting Monday, the 4th of May. Her role will include supporting the Shire on psychosocial health and safety, improving relationships between council members and staff, and helping develop an action plan for any required improvements. The appointment runs until the 3rd of July, with a final report due to the inspector by that date. The Council's request for support followed receipt of a troubling psychosocial investigation report. And those are today's top 3 stories here on the Local Government News Roundup. Now for the rest of today's Victorian news, Bass Coast Shire Council has this week elected Councillor Brett Tessari as its new mayor, after Councillor Rochelle Halstead stepped down earlier in the week. Councillor Halstead has been pre-selected as the Liberal candidate for the seat of Bass in the upcoming state election. She remains a councillor for the time being until the campaign begins in earnest in the coming months. Councillor Tessari has previously served 3 terms as mayor, the last time in 2020-21. As Councillor Tessari was serving as deputy mayor, a new election for that office was also required. There were 2 nominations for the position, Councillors Ron Bauer and John Temby, and Councillor Bauer was elected by a vote of 6-3. A local funding feud is heating up in Lang Lang. Bass MP Jordan Craignail has slammed Cardinia Shire Council in the press, accusing them of sitting on bypass land and failing to use quarry levies to start construction. But Cardinia Mayor Brett Owen says the MP is misleading the public. He says the $57 million project is too expensive for council alone, with quarry owners contributing less than 2% of the cost. The council is now calling for state and federal cash to get the trucks out of the town centre. Murrindindi and Strathbogie Shire Councils are demanding the Victorian Government extend a free bushfire waste disposal program currently set to expire on the 12th of May. With only 12 days remaining, mayors from the two councils say the deadline is unfair, noting that slow state-led clean-ups and strict eligibility rules have left many residents stranded. Council figures show that while hundreds have registered for state aid, fewer than 10 properties have seen any actual activity. Local landfills have already processed a year's worth of waste in just 4 months. The councils warn that without a 6-month extension, the region faces a spike in illegal dumping and a mental health crisis for those still struggling to clear debris before winter sets in. Down to Gippsland, and Latrobe City Mayor Sharon Gibson is calling on state and federal leaders to revisit a decades-old idea to solve the nation's fuel crisis, turning brown coal into oil. With fuel prices soaring and local power stations nearing closure, Councillor Gibson says the region's vast coal reserves and existing carbon capture infrastructure make it a natural fit for the project. While the technology was previously scrapped as uneconomic, Councillor Gibson argues that Australia's current fuel security risks require innovative approaches to achieve energy independence and protect the local economy. Stonnington Council has knocked back a push to cut rates. The Herald Sun reported that Mayor Melina Sear voted down a proposal tied to scrapping a subsidy worth about $10,000 a day for Paran Market. Supporters argued the money could be redirected to ease pressure on household budgets. The debate comes as the council looks to set its next budget. Up to the northeast corner, where Wodonga Council says it's being overruled and slowed down by state government departments after a bid for a 40-kilometre school zone near Kerribana Primary School was rejected. The Border Mail reported that councillors have voted to reapply with 30-kilometre limits to meet transport requirements, while also backing road safety upgrades at Barranduda and Jennings Boulevards. The council is also seeking more information about the state-flagged rezoning of the Wodonga Golf Club site for housing. In central Goldfields, the council is weighing up closing waste transfer stations at Denali, Bialaba and Talbot as it tries to cut debt ahead of its next budget. Locals say that could mean a 94-kilometre round trip to dump rubbish, and they warn it may lead to illegal dumping in the bush. The Herald Sun reported that petitions against the move have attracted nearly 900 signatures. The draft budget is open for community feedback. Greater Shepparton City Council says regional communities are missing out as new half-price fares and extra services focus on Melbourne. According to the Mayor, Councillor Shane Sardi, the problem isn't price, it's availability, with limited services and no buses in some areas on Sundays. The council says the network hasn't had a full review in about 20 years, despite growth in Shepparton, Toolamba and Tatura. But the city of Casey is celebrating a win following the announcement of expanded bus routes across Botanic Ridge and Clyde and extended operating hours between Berwick and Pakenham. Mayor Stephen Cooman says the upgrades are a direct result of council advocacy and provide vital connections for the state's fastest growing municipality. Reaction from budget announcements from the advocacy groups around the state as well. Regional Cities Victoria says the state's new $100 million bus funding adds just one new route across Victoria's 10 regional cities, and that's in Geelong. The group says many local networks haven't been reviewed in more than 15 years, leaving people without reliable access to jobs, study and services. Rural Councils Victoria has welcomed the government's $1.04 billion package to rebuild and resurface roads, with 70% earmarked for regional areas. Chair Rob Amos says it's a good first step, but warns the task is far bigger and is urging all parties to lift roads maintenance funding by an extra $500 million a year for 4 years, an extra $2 billion over the life of the next parliament. The package also includes a $36.9 million freeway clean-up blitz. And the rural city of Wangaratta has paid tribute to two former councillors, John Kevin Howard and Kieran Clem, recognising their service at the latest council meeting. Mayor Irene Grant offered condolences to their families and loved ones after their recent passing. Mr Howard served with the former city of Wangaratta and was mayor in the 1970s, while Mr Clem represented the rural city from 2000 to 2005. Vale, John Kevin Howard and Kieran Clem. Also making news, Stonnington Council has adopted a new significant community benefit policy for the Chapel Street precinct, setting clearer rules for when taller developments might be approved in exchange for community benefits. Port Phillip Council has welcomed a $30,000 grant from the Victorian Government to restore the Jewish War Memorial in Ripponlea. The funding will be used to repair structural deterioration and conserve the heritage fabric of the obelisk located in Burnett Grey Gardens. And Glen Eira City Council will move its ordinary council meetings to a monthly schedule from August. Meetings will be held on the first Tuesday of each month, with no meeting in January. Ballarat City Council says a spike in diesel prices linked to the Iran war is adding about $150,000 a month to its fuel bill. The total hit tipped to reach around $500,000 by 30 June. CEO Evan King says council may need to push back some capital works, like road reconstruction, but says essential services won't be cut. Waste collection in particular will not change. ABC News has spoken to others in the sector about the impact, including CEO Jim Nolan at Pyrenees Shire Council. Check out their latest report on the crisis from the link in the transcript. And tune in to this week's VLGA Connect when one of our guests is Evan King, the Ballarat CEO, discussing this very topic, including the implications of that recent Fair Work Commission ruling on contracts. Look out for that new episode out later today on YouTube and podcast. You are listening to the Local Government News Roundup for Friday the 1st of May. It's episode number 580. And lots of news to round up out of New South Wales for you now. ABC News is reporting that the City of Sydney will investigate banning short-term rentals like Airbnb and stays, targeting suburbs where holiday lets outnumber long-term homes or where vacancy drops below 3%. Greens councillors say the current 180-day cap is too hard to police. And Deputy Mayor Jess Miller says councils need better state data to act. But the Stays platform argues bans won't fix housing supply and could hurt tourism. Mid-Western Regional Council has announced that Glen Willow's main stadium will now be known as Club Mudgee Stadium after signing its first naming rights deal. Council says the partnership will help promote Mudgee as a sporting hub, with the venue hosting major events and drawing visitors to the region. Mayor Des Kennedy says Glen Willow has generated more than $80 million in economic value since opening in 2012. Balranald Shire Mayor Councillor Louis Zafina has condemned Murray-Darling water buyback profiteering. He claims basin towns like Balranald are paying the price as big entitlement holders pocket millions through federal water buybacks. Councillor Zafina says water is being treated like a financial asset instead of supporting jobs, food production and local businesses. The council wants the Basin Plan review to balance healthy rivers with healthy communities and stop rewarding speculative holdings. Murray River Council says it's backing a national push to restore federal financial assistance grants for councils, warning years of cost rises and funding cuts are putting pressure on local services. Mayor Councillor John Harvey says councils are calling for grants to return to at least 1% of Commonwealth tax revenue instead of forcing big rate hikes. He says for Murray River Council, replacing the shortfall could mean finding about $11 million a year and rates rising by 60 to 70% over 3 years. Tamworth Regional Council says proposed raw water price rises could leave locals effectively paying to run Water New South Wales's Chaffey Dam, with costs flagged to climb by up to 36% by 2029. Council will vote on sending feedback to IPART, calling for statewide postage stamp pricing and warning higher prices could push other licence holders out of the Peel Valley, shifting costs onto ratepayers. More on that from the Northern Daily Leader. Northern Beaches Council inspected 97 building sites in March as part of the Get the Site Right campaign, targeting erosion, sediment and waste controls to stop pollution reaching local waterways. Council found 46 sites were compliant, but 51 had issues like uncovered stockpiles, missing sediment fencing and waste not contained. It issued 3 verbal warnings and 40 written warnings, with stronger action for repeat offenders. The next blitz is planned for August. Tweed Shire Council is rolling out new surveillance cameras at public place bins to deter illegal dumping of things like mattresses and broken furniture. Council says it's dealing with more than 200 incidents a year, costing the community over $200,000. Cootamundra-Gundagai Regional Council has appointed a new 3-person panel to help resolve any disputes during the demerger transition, if issues are formally referred. Scott Phillips is the chair, joined by Tony Donoghue and mediator Michelle McFadden. The council says the panel is expected to meet rarely, but it's in place to support a fair, orderly process. And 20 regional New South Wales councils will share $3.8 million to fast-track planning work for more housing, helping unlock capacity for more than 68,000 new homes. The Regional Housing Strategic Planning Fund will pay for local housing strategies, infrastructure servicing plans and other frameworks, so growth is better matched to services and demand. Councils are co-contributing $1.1 million. Also making news in New South Wales, City of Parramatta Council has taken out Website of the Year at the Granicus Digital Government Awards after rebuilding its site to be faster, more accessible and easier to use on mobile. Council says the project took 8 months. It moved more than 1,000 pages, with key information rewritten in plain English. Yass Valley Council is moving into the new Crago Mill precinct, with its new administration building opening from Monday, the 4th of May. To help the move, Council is running reduced services on Friday, the 1st of May, and the library will shut for a week from Monday, reopening at the Community Opening Day on Saturday, the 9th of May. And Muswellbrook Shire Council will get $145,000 to trial new ways to handle hard-to-recycle waste under the New South Wales EPA's Local Government Waste Solutions Fund. 98.1 Power FM reported the project will explore local reuse options for organic material and HDPE plastics. As always, we do our best to put the links to all the stories we reference in the transcript, which you can find in your podcast player, or better yet, head to lgnewsroundup.com for the full transcript that you'll find there, along with breaking news stories between episodes. Thanks to Rath Engineering Development for building our new website. I'd love you to check it out and give us your feedback. lgnewsroundup.com. And thanks again to James and the team at Rath Engineering Development for their help in bringing you a fabulous new website. Let's turn to our Queensland report now, and Southern Downs Regional Council says it's disappointed the state will build the Toowoomba to Warwick raw water pipeline in 2 stages, delaying the final 64 kilometres until it's needed. The pipeline is meant to strengthen drought supply, but the Queensland Government says staging it will avoid unnecessary upkeep costs for ratepayers. Mayor Melissa Hamilton said the council will push for key sections to be included in Stage 1, according to a report from Warwick Today. Noosaville is set to get one of Queensland's first community batteries, with a 360 kilowatt-hour unit being installed at McGregor Park. Noosa Council will store excess rooftop solar during the day, then feed that clean power back to the neighbourhood at night, easing peak demand. The battery connects to the grid, so locals won't need to opt in. The council says it expects it to be operating very soon, early May, in fact. Lockyer Valley Regional Council will temporarily close part of the William Kemp RV Park in Gatton. The Lockyer and Somerset Independent reported the move will create a buffer zone near Gatton Kindy after concerns about inappropriate behaviour by some campers. The council says people in the affected area will need to move elsewhere in the park, with a temporary fence marking the exclusion zone for up to 6 months. In the meantime, it's asking the Queensland Government for more help to connect people to secure housing. Cairns Regional Council is rolling out pay-by-plate paid parking, with new signage appearing across Cairns North and the CBD. From the 5th of May, 191 parking metres will be upgraded, building on a 2024 trial. Drivers will enter their rego at the metre and pay by coin or card, or use the Easy Park app. The council says it should make parking simpler and more reliable, including around the Esplanade. The City of Moreton Bay has appointed Andy Davison as its new Chief Economic Development Officer after a national recruitment process drew more than 150 applications. Council says Davison brings more than 25 years international experience, including as a diplomat and economic leader, and he'll help guide long-term planning to attract investment and jobs. And Ipswich is aiming to make a big noise in July with a Guinness World Record attempt for the world's largest trombone ensemble. The council is calling for 400 players of all ages and abilities to meet the current record of 368, which was set in Washington, D.C. It's part of the Spark Ipswich Arts Festival. Registrations are open now online. Trombone players getting ready by the sounds of things there in Ipswich. Let's go to Tasmania, and ABC News has gone inside the ill-fated attempt to introduce a 4-day work week at the city of Launceston earlier this year. The ABC's investigation revealed that there was no standalone business case, and it claims that files show a messaging strategy that was tightly controlled by CEO Sam Johnson. It also gained access to emails to councillors urging them to stay out of the public debate. The proposal was dropped in the face of polarised debate and unacceptable vitriol, with some of the blame put at the feet of Mayor Matthew Garwood for conducting an informal emoji poll on social media. Derwent Valley Council has been told to tighten up confidentiality after alleged leaks and concerns about handling commercial agreements. The department has praised the council for completing its required improvement plan, but is warning that further breaches could bring serious consequences, including possible suspension or dismissal of councillors. More details on that from the Mercury. From the Advocate, a report that Waratah Wynyard Council has voted down a move to approach governments about trialling a universal basic income in the municipality. It describes a debate on the issue at council this week as fiery. Councillor Andrea Courtney argued the area's high poverty rates and changing job mix make it a strong candidate, but the motion failed 5-2, with only Councillor Courtney and one other councillor supporting it. And Meander Valley Council Mayor Wayne Johnston has announced he won't recontest the local government elections in October, ending an 8-year term as mayor. Johnston says it's been a privilege to serve since being elected in 2018. From South Australia, Copper Coast Council says the planned new swimming jetty at Wallaroo is facing a big cost blowout, putting its $2.12 million federal grant in doubt. Residents have been left gutted, with fears the project may never be built unless extra funding is found or the scope is changed. More details in a report from Adelaide Now. South Australia's Local Government Association has launched a statewide campaign calling for urgent investment to save South Australia's historic jetties following decades of neglect and recent storm damage. The VLGA is urging the state government to double annual funding for council-leased jetties to $10 million and to adopt a fairer cost-sharing model for repairs. Adelaide Now reported that currently many regional councils are struggling to maintain the state-owned assets under long-term lease agreements. It comes as several jetties, including those at Robe and Kingston, remain closed or destroyed following a series of wild storms in 2025. It's been a busy few days and weeks for news out of Western Australia. We reported at the top of the program about Serpentine Jarradale's new local government monitor that's been appointed. In other news out of the state, the Shire of Narrogin has found its new leader. Shire President Lee Ballard announced this week that Andrew Campbell will take over as Chief Executive Officer from the 1st of July. Mr Campbell brings over 30 years of experience to the role, including previous CEO stints at Northampton and Manjimup. For his part, Mr Campbell says he's eager to move to town with his partner and start working with the community to build on Narrogin's strong foundation. His appointment follows the resignation of Dale Stewart in February, ahead of taking up the CEO role at the town of Port Hedland. The town of Victoria Park Council has voted down a push to look at bringing back weekly red bin collections just months after rolling out FOGO. Perth Now reported that new councillor Scott Ingram wanted costings and a feasibility report, but most councillors argued it would undermine the new system while it's still being reviewed and could add cost and landfill. The town's waste contract is also up for renewal later this year. Dog owners in the city of Bayswater could face a $200 on-the-spot fine if they ignore a written direction to build a suitable enclosure under a new enforcement change approved unanimously by council. It targets residents who don't comply within the time frame set by an authorised officer. Perth now has details on that. And Bunbury is set to see more than $134 million in WA government investment, including the return of the Australind train service on the 29th of June, reconnecting Bunbury and Perth. The city says the funding also backs the next stage of the Transforming Bunbury's waterfront project at Casuarina Boat Harbour, with new accessible recreation spaces, more boat pens and upgraded seawalls. And let's round out the week with some global news. We'll head to the UK firstly. Birmingham City Council's leader says a year-long bin strike could soon end, with an improved offer now being put to refuse workers. The dispute has left thousands of tonnes of rubbish uncollected and prompted the council to declare a major incident. Unite says the move vindicates workers' campaign for a fair deal, and details will go to a member vote once a formal offer is lodged, according to a report from The Guardian. Central Bedfordshire Council says no tenant or landlord has been left out of pocket after a former senior housing officer, Canyon Jola Osho, admitted to nearly £40,000 in housing fraud. Investigators say rent, deposits and a fake landlord incentive payment were diverted. Jola Osho has been given a 16-month sentence, suspended for 18 months, plus costs, and the council is now working to recover the funds, according to BBC News. And homeowners on Doncaster Grove in Long Eaton say they were shocked to learn parts of their backyards may be public land behind their properties. The council says residents can buy the land, rent it, or face fencing to reclaim the area. Locals argue it wasn't flagged when they bought their homes, and some have spent big on improvements. The council says it must manage public assets properly. There's more details on that at realestate.com.au. In Israel, police have arrested the head of a northern local council and 5 others over alleged bribery and fraud linked to municipal IT contracts. Investigators from the Major Crimes Unit say contractors offered benefits in exchange for council tenders, and police suspect public money was also siphoned off. The Times of Israel reported that 5 more people were questioned, with searches across several councils. To the US, and the Governor of Maine, Janet Mills, has vetoed a first-in-the-nation bill that would have placed a moratorium on new data centres. The legislation, which was passed with bipartisan support, sought to halt large-scale construction until 2027 to study the impact on Maine's power grid and environment. While Governor Mills says she supports the idea of a temporary pause, she vetoed the bill because it failed to exempt a major project in the town of Jay. The Governor says that specific project will bring hundreds of jobs to a community struggling with mill closures. NBC News reported the Governor plans to issue an executive order to study the industry's impact instead. Changes are coming to Washington City Council in North Carolina. ABC News 12 is reporting that Mayor Pro Tem Richard Brooks has officially stepped down, citing deep-seated concerns with the current direction of the city government. He's pointed to a lack of transparency and a toxic environment within the administration as his primary reasons for leaving the post he's held for over a decade. The resignation comes amidst ongoing local debate over the recent appointment of a city manager, which raised legal and procedural questions. And the former city manager resigned late last year amid reported tensions with incoming council members. In Canada, Pickering Council's Integrity Commissioner is investigating Councillor Lisa Robinson again after she posted a video questioning the search for unmarked graves at the former Kamloops residential school site. Mayor Kevin Ash says the comments were deeply hurtful and have no place in public discourse. Another councillor has filed a formal complaint. CBC News reported that Robinson says she welcomes the review, stands by her calling for evidence. She's previously been sanctioned 8 times for code of conduct violations. Police in Ontario say they won't lay criminal charges against North Bay Mayor Peter Chirico after an investigation into his use of the city's corporate credit card. The mayor had faced criticism over more than $16,000 in personal spending, which has been repaid. An Integrity Commissioner previously found some claims breached the Code of Conduct, and the council suspended the mayor's pay for 60 days, according to CTV News. And from New Zealand, Hutt City Council has apologised after a malicious phishing attack led to unauthorised access to several email accounts. The council says 5 people had identity information compromised and 732 may have had financial details exposed through email correspondence. Everyone affected has been contacted directly, and the council says it's strengthening safeguards and security systems, urging people to stay vigilant. More details are on Stuff. Meanwhile, its neighbour, Upper Hutt City Council, has farewelled its Chief Executive Jeff Swainson this week after he decided not to renew his 3-year contract. One News reported his final day was Thursday, and recruitment is already underway for a replacement. Auckland's Devonport Takapuna local board has rejected a proposal to install a Comfort Women statue, honouring women forced into sexual slavery by Japanese troops in World War II. Reuters reported that the board voted against the application after Japan's ambassador warned it could harm diplomatic ties. And Western Bay of Plenty District Council has appointed a new chief executive from within, promoting corporate services GM Matt Potton. The mayor says he brings strong leadership and a deep understanding of council's financial and operational challenges. Mr Potton takes up the role on the 11th of May. That's the latest from the Roundup, a busy episode as we only have the 2 episodes this week. Hopefully back to the 3-episode schedule next week. This episode for Friday the 1st of May was number 580. Our podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government. Look for a new episode of VLGA Connect coming today with lots of useful information. Our show is also supported by Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. You can get more information about the episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com, and keep an eye on that site for breaking news between episodes. I'm grateful to the many of you who help make this podcast possible by supporting us through a monthly subscription. Support starts at $3 per month. It's around $5 Australian. Actually, it's a little bit less now with the dollar exchange. And you can cancel your subscription at any time. Thank you so much to those who do support the podcast on an ongoing basis. It's greatly appreciated. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening, and bye for now. Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3, allowing councils to connect their systems securely, to automate their data flows and to monitor performance in real time. And right now, councils are lining up for their own emergency dashboard, like the one that Symphony 3 has created for the city of Greater Bendigo. The dashboard helps keep the community safe and prepared before, during and after emergencies. It pulls together live data, including weather data, traffic data, emergency incidents, unplanned and planned disruptions, news and social media feeds. Visit www.symphony3.com to learn how you can get an emergency dashboard for your community.